Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a stack of sources today that all center around this single ancient Hebrew word.
Hmm.
It sounds simple enough on the surface, but the concepts,
Yeah,
well, they're actually pretty disruptive.
they really are.
Before we even get to the word, though, I want to start with a question. It's from the main text, and it poses it right up front. It's one of those questions that it forces you to stop what you're doing and just kind of stare at the wall for a minute.
It's definitely a stopper. It reframes the whole conversation we have around faith and, purpose.
So the question is this. What if the most decisive moment of your faith isn't when God reveals a master plan or, gives you the blueprint for the next 10 years,
Right.
but simply when he calls your name to see if anyone is listening?
It's a complete inversion of how we usually operate, isn't it?
Slightly.
We tend to measure spiritual maturity or, I guess, success by clarity. We
Yeah.
want the burning bush, the writing on the wall, that moment where the clouds part and the path forward is like lit up in neon. But the source material we're breaking down today argues that the real turning point, the fulcrum of a life of faith, it happens way before any of that clarity comes.
It happens with that one word we mentioned, Hineni.
Hineni.
Now, for those whose Hebrew is a little rusty, and that's definitely me, literally, it means here I am, which on the surface feels, I don't know, a little underwhelming.
It sounds like roll call, right?
Exactly. Like in homeroom, teacher calls your name, you raise your hand, here I am.
And that's exactly the misconception the text tries to just dismantle right away. In our modern context, here I am is usually geographical.
It's where you are.
It means I am located in the kitchen or I am currently sitting at my desk. It's a GPS coordinate. It's just data.
Right, it's just stating a fact.
Exactly. But in the biblical narrative, and specifically in the text we're digging into, Hineni is never about geography. I mean, God knows where you are physically.
He doesn't need your coordinates.
No, Hineni is a declaration of availability. It's not I am present in this room. It's I am entirely at your disposal.
Okay, I see the distinction. It's the difference between a soldier standing in formation and a soldier stepping forward and saying, send me.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's really the mission of this deep dive. We are exploring the tension that's described in this text between availability and control. Because the argument here is that our modern world, our obsession with strategy, 5-year plans, risk management, all that certainty, it's fundamentally at war with this Hineni posture.
The text actually sets the stage by saying, we are at a crossroads. We have to choose between a faith that demands an explanation before it moves and, well, a faith that yields before it understands.
Yeah.
And honestly, that sounds incredibly difficult for the modern brain to process.
It is. So let's get into the mechanics of why that is, because the source sets up this really interesting binary in the first segment.
Okay.
Usually when we talk about faith, we think the opposite is unbelief. You either believe God exists and is good or you don't. That seems like the logical divide.
Right. That's the standard definition. Belief versus atheism or agnosticism.
But the author argues that for the person who is already trying to live a life of faith, unbelief isn't usually the main problem. The real battle is between availability and control. It's between knowing God's voice and trusting God's heart.
I want to push on that a bit because I think a lot of people listening, and myself included, we'd say, well, I need control to be responsible. We live in a culture that worships strategy.
Of course.
If I go to a career coach, they don't tell me to sit quietly and be available. They tell me to build a roadmap. If I'm managing a project, I need KPIs. I need ROI. Are we saying that's bad?
The source isn't saying planning is evil, but it argues that we've imported that corporate ROI mindset into our spiritual lives, and it just doesn't belong there.
So we measure our faithfulness by outcomes.
We do. We want to know the return on obedience.
Oof, that's a strong phrase. Return on obedience.
It's transactional, isn't it? We say, God, I will go to this place or take this job or give this money, but first, show me the spreadsheet.
Show me how it ends.
Prove to me it's worth the investment. Yeah.
There's a quote in the source about this that really jumped out at me. It says, we want direction before devotion.
Yes. And the follow-up is even stronger. Clarity has rarely been God's first gift to his servants. We treat clarity as a prerequisite for trust. We think, once I understand the plan, then I will submit to it. But the text argues that isn't submission at all. That's just agreement.
That's a really sharp distinction. If I only do it because I understand it and agree with the strategy, I'm not really obeying you.
No.
I'm just cooperating with a plan I already like. I'm still the judge.
Precisely. You're still the CEO holding the rubber stamp. You're retaining the veto power. Hineni, on the other hand, is defined by the source as a response that relinquishes the right to negotiate terms.
Which, psychologically speaking, is terrifying. It
Oof.
sounds irresponsible.
It is terrifying. It effectively means saying yes before you even know what the question is. It's signing a blank check.
Yeah.
The text describes this posture as a refusal to retain control disguised as wisdom.
Control disguised as wisdom. That stings a little. We tell ourselves we're just being prudent. We're being good stewards. But the author is suggesting that often that's just a mask for fear.
Fear of the unknown, fear of looking foolish, fear of pain. If we can wrap our control in religious language, I'm just waiting for peace about this decision, we can avoid the terrifying vulnerability of Hineni.
Right.
But the source is relentless here. It argues that God moves through surrender, not through our intellectual sign-off.
Okay, so this isn't just some philosophical idea the author cooked up. They ground this in history.
Deep in it.
And the lineup of people who use this word Hineni, I mean, it's not a list of minor characters. We're talking about the heavy hitters of the narrative.
The biggest names. Abraham, Moses, Isaiah.
And the source identifies a structural pattern in all three stories that is just, it's really fascinating. It's not just that they said the word, it's when they said it.
The timing is everything.
Let's look at Abraham first. I mean, this is arguably the founding moment of the faith. But when you actually read the story, it sounds like terrible decision-making.
From a risk management perspective,
Oh,
absolutely Genesis 22. God calls to Abraham. Abraham says, Hineni. He answers the call immediately.
Right.
But think about the context. In the bigger story of his life, he's told to leave his home, his kin, his security, to go to a land I will show you.
Not a land I have shown you.
Exactly. Future tense. The map is blank. Abraham answers with availability before the destination is even revealed.
He commits to the journey without seeing the itinerary.
Yeah.
He doesn't get to see the Google Street View of where he's going to live.
Not at all. Then you have Moses, the burning bush.
Right.
Now, we know the end of the movie. He leads the people out of Egypt. But at that moment, when he says Hineni, where is he?
He's a fugitive. He's a murderer. Hiding in the desert, tending sheep, arguably trying to disappear from the world.
Totally. And the bush burns. The voice calls Moses, Moses, and he says, Hineni.
And the timing, this is crucial, like you said.
It is. He says it before God tells him to go back to Egypt. He acknowledges his availability. Here I am. And only then does he find out he has to confront the most powerful man on earth, Pharaoh.
You know, if he knew the mission first, hey, Moses, go fight the superpower of the world with a stick.
Yeah.
Do you think he would have answered the call?
Well, look at the rest of the chapter. He spends the next, 4 or 5 verses arguing with God, making excuses.
I can't speak.
I can't speak. Send someone else. But the Hineni came first. It's this moment of pure, unguarded openness before all the fear and the logic kicked in.
And then Isaiah, the throne room scene. This one feels different because Isaiah isn't a fugitive, but he's terrified.
Isaiah represents the internal barrier. His Hineni comes after he's completely dismantled. He sees the vision of God. He realizes he is undone, a man of unclean lips.
He's stripped of all his self-confidence.
Completely. So he's not volunteering because he thinks he's qualified.
He's not waving his resume saying, pick me, I have the best speaking skills.
No, and that's the common thread the source just drives home. In every single one of these cases, the servant steps out of the sender so God can occupy it. The text argues that God isn't looking for the most capable people. He's not checking LinkedIn profiles. He's not looking for the most informed or the most strategic. He is looking for the willing.
It's funny, in a corporate setting, willing but incompetent is usually a bad hire.
It's a disaster.
You want the expert. But the source is saying that in this economy, availability is the qualification.
Because the power doesn't come from the servant. The power comes from the one calling.
Right.
So if the power comes from God, then your primary job is just to be a conduit. A blocked conduit, no matter how gold-plated or expensive, is useless. A cheap, clear plastic pipe that is open. It flows water. Hineni is just clearing the pipe.
That sounds poetic, and, I want to believe it, but I have to push back a little bit. And to be fair, the source does too. This sounds dangerous.
It is.
If I just say, here I am, do whatever, I'm opening myself up to a lot of disruption. I'm basically inviting chaos into my nice, organized life.
You absolutely are. The source actually calls Hineni a spiritually dangerous word. It's not safe.
Why frame it as dangerous? I mean, usually faith is sold as a comfort.
It's dangerous because it invites the disruption of your carefully constructed systems. We spend our lives building safeguards, savings accounts, insurance, reputation management, gated communities.
All to preserve our current state of comfort.
Exactly. Hineni moves your life from self-preservation to divine purpose, and divine purpose rarely cares about your comfort or your schedule.
But there's a flip side to this danger. And this was, for me, the most resonant part of the text.
Yeah.
The part that actually, it made me emotional. It talks about the burden of authorship.
Yes, this is a profound psychological insight. It explains so much of modern burnout.
Let's unpack this burden of authorship.
Okay.
Because I feel this. I think everyone listening feels this.
Think about how exhausted the average modern person feels. Not just, physically tired from work, but existentially drained. The source argues this is because we believe we have to write our own story. We feel the pressure to be the author. We have to make the plot interesting. We have to ensure the character arc bends towards success. We have to engineer the happy ending.
And if something goes wrong, if there's a plot hole or a tragedy or a career setback, it's on us.
Yeah.
We have to fix the script. We panic because we think, I'm ruining the story.
Exactly. That is a crushing weight. No human was designed to carry the burden of total sovereignty over their life. It's just too heavy. Hineni offers relief from that. It's the act of laying down the pen.
Handing the pen back to the author.
It's realizing that true freedom comes when we accept that God's character is more reliable than our comprehension. It's saying, I don't have to understand where this chapter is going to be okay with walking through it because I'm not the one writing it.
Swapping a roadmap for a relationship.
That is the core pivot. The text contrasts transactional faith with relational obedience.
Okay.
Transactional faith is, I do X, God does Y, and my plans are affirmed. Relational obedience is, I trust you even if you interrupt my plans.
It reminds me of the difference between a contractor and a soldier. A contractor has a scope of work. If you go outside the scope, we have to renegotiate the contract. A soldier just says, yes, sir. Or, I guess even more intimately, like a child and a parent. A toddler doesn't need to see the GPS to get in the car. They just trust who's driving.
That is the perfect analogy. The source argues we've become adults who demand to drive, and we're driving ourselves off a cliff of anxiety because we can't see around the curves.
Okay, but here's where the rubber meets the road. If we accept this, if we hand over the pen, it creates a measurement problem. We love metrics.
We do.
If I'm not measuring success by, did I get the promotion or did the ministry grow? What am I measuring it by? How do I know if I'm doing a good job?
The source redefines success in a way that is. It's radically countercultural. It says success isn't about how impressive the assignment is.
It's about
how freely the heart is offered.
That's hard to put on a performance review. Heart offered freely, 10-10.
It is difficult to quantify, for sure. But the text breaks us down into 3 shifts to help us gauge it. First, moving beyond control. Faith becomes about offering trust, not managing risk.
Which is the opposite of how we usually operate. We are addicted to risk management. We want to ensure against every possible bad outcome.
Second, moving beyond competence. We think God needs our skills. We think God needs me because I'm a great speaker, or I'm great with finance.
Right.
The source says God releases power through our availability, not our adequacy.
And the third.
Beyond visibility. This is the toughest one for the social media generation. The text says the calling is often hidden before it is public.
Yeah, if you can't post about it, did it even happen? We want that external validation.
Exactly. But the expert insight in the text points to history. Faith has always flourished in uncertainty and obscurity. The early church didn't have political power or massive buildings. They had Hineni. The source argues that the future belongs to those who value faithfulness over visibility. It's a call to be okay with being anonymous as long as you're obedient.
Okay, so we've established the what, the why, and the who. But I'm a practical person. I can't just walk into my office tomorrow, close my eyes, and whisper, Hineni, and hope the quarterly report writes itself.
Right.
How does someone actually live this without just becoming passive or lazy?
That's a valid concern. Surrender isn't passivity, it's active responsiveness. It takes more energy to be attentive than it does to be on autopilot. But the source acknowledges that this is hard. It calls the resistance conditional obedience.
I'll go anywhere, Lord,
Yeah.
except there. I'll do anything except that.
Right. To combat that instinct, the text offers 3 core practices and then 5 specific steps. The first practice is consistency over intensity.
I like that. We love the hero moment. We want to slay the giant or part the sea.
But Hineni is usually a daily whisper, not a one-time shout. It's showing up every day. Daily availability versus those rare moments of heroism.
Okay.
The second is community over isolation. Surrender is hard to sustain alone. You need others to remind you of the commitment when you want to take the pen back.
Because we will want to take the pen back.
Immediately, as soon as the plot twists, we want to grab the pen. And the third practice is adaptability over rigidity. This goes back to the map versus relationship idea. If you're rigid, you break when the plan changes. If you're adaptable, you stay responsive in motion.
Let's run through the 5 next steps quickly because I think they are actually usable. Step 1 is a daily prayer.
Simple and direct. Here I am. I am willing. Before you check your phone, before you check your email, just set the posture.
Step 2 is a weekly availability audit. This one sounds interesting. How do you audit your soul?
It's a diagnostic tool. You look at your week and you ask, where am I present physically but not surrendered spiritually? Maybe you're showing up to your job, but you're resentful. You're there, but you aren't Hineni. You're withholding your heart.
Step 3, obedience without outcomes.
This is the exercise of doing something where you cannot see the ROI. Identifying an area to act just because you feel prompted. Serving a neighbor, giving a gift, keeping quiet in an argument where you have no guarantee of the result.
You do it just to practice the muscle of trust.
Exactly. Step 4 is anchor in Scripture. Meaning basing your trust on God's character, what He has done in the past, rather than your current clarity or your feelings. You look at the track record, not the crystal ball.
And finally, step 5, rhythm not moment.
Developing a rule of availability. Making this a lifestyle. It's not a one-time decision you make at a retreat. It's the operating system for your life.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from Abraham on the mountain to our own daily struggle with control and burnout. As we wrap this up, what's the one thing you want the listener to walk away with?
The source concludes with a reminder that this isn't a journey from ignorance to knowledge. We aren't trying to just get smarter or figure out the puzzle of life.
Right.
It's a journey from guarded presence to wholehearted surrender.
And I like that the text treats this concept not as a chapter to close, like, okay, I did the Hineni thing, check that box, now I'm a master.
Right, I've graduated.
But as a door to open.
Yes, it's something to return to. In seasons of waiting and moments of interruption when things go wrong, you return to the door of Hineni. It's the reset button.
It really challenges that instinct to figure it all out first.
Yeah.
We're so desperate to understand why things are happening.
We are, and that leads us to the final provocative thought from the source, the ultimate paradox. We think we need to understand before we can surrender. We think understanding leads to trust.
But this source flips it.
Completely. It argues that surrender is not the end of understanding. It is where understanding begins.
That's backward to everything we're taught in school.
It is. But the claim is that when you stop trying to control the narrative, you actually start to see what the story is really about. You can't understand the play if you're too busy fighting the director for the script.
So the question for you listening today isn't, do you understand God's plan?
No. The question is, are you ready to answer the call before you know what it demands?
Hineni, here I am. It's a short word, but it might just be the most dangerous and freeing thing you can say. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.